According to new landmark reports by journalist Yoav Yitzchak, it seems that Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit has now found himself between a rock and a hard place, as both State Prosecutor Shai Nitzan and Prime Minister Netanyahu have allegedly gathered dirt on the top legal official. Nitzan supposedly has recordings of Mandelblit that allegedly prove he interfered with an investigation in 2015, and Netanyahu reportedly has a letter written by former State Attorney Yehuda Weinstein that apparently proves the same thing. And Yitzchak's report then alleges that Mandelblit is being squeezed from both sides with this dirt to both release and not release his indictment recommendations against Netanyahu. Well, joining me now with more is legal advisor to the Israeli Movement of Governability and Democracy, or Meshilut, attorney Simcha Rothman. Simcha, thank you so much for coming back in again as well.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so how credible do you think this report is that Attorney General Mandelblit is being kind of hit from both sides here?
I think that we need to take it with a grain of salt. It's to say that he's being extorted on this information, which has already been released many times in the past. I think it's a little bit too much.
Well, sure.
But I think that we have a problem, and the problem is that in Israel, the position of the state prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, and the attorney general, and the chief legal advisor is all in one person. This creates tensions that a normal human being should not stand. In normal places, the prosecution of, especially the prosecution of, we see how it goes in the US, you have a special prosecutor, you have a special attorney dealing with this kind of issue, because to have this kind of burden on the regular law enforcement forces to investigate head of states, it's not for them. It creates a problem. It creates a false motivation within the prosecution to prosecute the prime minister, even if there is something there, even if there is not. Then you have to change the system. And what we see today, and it will only become worse after he releases his recommendation. We'll see more of that, and the system has to be changed.
Well, first of all, we have yet to know what Mandelblit's recommendation will be, one way or the other.
It doesn't matter what he will recommend
of when it comes out. So that's first. But second of all, how do you suspect Mandelblit? Because you mentioned this is an old story. This is known to the public. It's not something that was necessarily hidden. So how do you think Mandelblit is supposed to respond to this? Is he supposed to respond?
I think that Mandelblit needs to if there is this kind of information, has to release it voluntarily and say, this and this, I'm being under pressure. I think the best way to relieve this kind of pressure is just saying this and this person trying to extort me, and if it's true. And what I find,
but that's it. That's quite the accusation.
What I find bothering is that we know that when Prime Minister Sharon was investigated, someone from within the prosecution, an attorney, was trialed for leaking information to the public because she had a political motive to leak information to the public. What we see today, we see more and more information from within closed rooms that goes to the media, and no one does anything about it, especially not Mandelblit. And I think if there is something that he should be if any problem Mandelblit has is the fact that he's not fighting these leaks from within the state prosecution time and again, and that's what he needs to focus on. And I think once he starts doing he won't be under pressure.
But again, if Mandelblit were to respond to these leaks, doesn't he give them credence?
He needs to say
he can't say that they're false, because if they're not, then he's backtracking from in the future, and he can't acknowledge them because, as you said, it's a leak.
If there is a leak just released yesterday from the room that he sits and how the people who he consults with, there are ways to deal with it. You do a polygraph test on everyone who was in the room. That's the way you do in cabinet meetings sometimes. That's the way you do in special forces. That's the way you do in the police from time to time. That's the way to deal with it. And if there are leaks, then he needs to consult with less people, if that's the issue. And I think that the fact that we don't see no one in all the last few years, no one was prosecuted for leaking information. I think that's a big stain on the prosecution of Israel. And I think that I can believe now, the public can believe now, almost every story you can mention.
All right. Well, with that, we'll have to obviously see how Mandelblit responds to this, if at all. Simcha, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.